that looks like they can put a bunch of points on the board.
Yeah. Because, the Steelers game really blew me away because, Indianapolis, we even said, their offense was very good, and it proved it this week. Luck, he had a couple picks, but he's still 400 yards and 3 scores. But you look at their defense was starting to look better. And, even last week they shut out the Bengals. And then they go into Pittsburgh to a Steelers team that's doing well, but they're still a 4-3 team, and their offense hasn't really been blowing things up. And they put up 51 points. That's insanity. Talk about regressing from one week to the next. Complete turnaround.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Look at the other quarterbacks that excelled this weekend. Tom Brady, 5 touchdowns. Kyle Orton, 4 touchdowns.
Oh, I can't believe that.
Andrew Luck had 3 touchdowns in a losing effort. Amazing. Yeah. And guess what? They all either did the same or better than Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning had 3 touchdowns. Oh, my God. Jay Cutler had 3 touchdowns. Can you believe that?
No.
In that terrible, brutal game, and I won't talk about it anymore for you, Keith.
No.
Phillip Rivers had 3 touchdowns.
It's funny because, Cutler becomes the ire of every Bears fan, and the strip sack fumble and the interception to end the second half were god-awful turnovers. But the defense, I don't understand how Mel Tucker wasn't fired before he left the stadium. Honestly. And then you have the press conference today with Chicago, and Phil Emery and Mark Trestman all doubled down that there's nothing wrong with the talent on this roster. Well, you know what? There is nothing wrong with the talent on that roster. There's a lot more talent on that roster than most of these teams in this league have. But they're not maximizing it at all. Trestman spoke today about needing a balance on offense. Well, I know everybody here, especially me, have been thumping on that all along. When your running back is your leading target, the recipient of the most targets in the passing game, then something's wrong. Your game plan sucks.
Yeah, and I'm going to be, of course, the Cutler hater.
Well, of course you are.
He is the highest paid quarterback in the league right now.
Who gives a shit?
He is the highest paid quarterback because I do. Because I said from day one, I don't think they should have given him that money because I don't think he's that good a quarterback. They should have used it in other areas of the team. They could have gotten any other guy. He had 3 touchdowns, but 2 of his touchdowns came after they were already down 45-7.
Forget it. They were down that bad not because of him. They were down that bad because of the defense.
I'm not saying that Cutler was playing defense. I'm just saying that he does not deserve the kind of money they gave. They could have used it in other ways.
Where? Tell me where. Tell me where.
Defense.
Because they did.
Special teams.
They did. They blew a ton of money. They signed Lamar Houston, Willie Young, Jared Allen. They drafted a nice young corner. Okay, that contract did not preclude them from going out and doing anything in the offseason.
They also kept him from getting a real quarterback.
There were no real quarterbacks out there.
I'm telling you, you'll always be on the Rex Grossman thing with this, with you and me. Yes. Jay Cutler is not the answer for Chicago. He never was. I first was excited about when he came to the team, and I am not alone. Every analyst you will ever hear agrees with me 100%. Look, he is the one time I agree with my brother Brian, who I despise. Jay Cutler is Jeff George. He has all the talent in the world, but he has no idea on how to use it correctly.
Jay Cutler is not perfect. He's got warts. His fundamentals go the way they go out the door at the drop of a hat. He drives you crazy. You can win with Jay Cutler.
No,
you can. They won't because they won't game plan. They won't execute, and it's you can say whether you want Cutler shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that, and you're right. He shouldn't. Okay, the pass there, the lobbing it into triple coverage to get picked off at the end of the second half, the holding the ball like a loaf of bread when he's getting wrapped up. Yes, those are all things that are atrocious. And he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not even Andrew Luck. But he's better. He's a top 3rd quarterback in the NFL.
How many coaches do he has to lose with before you stop blaming the coaches?
Give me a coach that he lost with that he personally murdered.
What do you mean personally murdered?
You're likening him to a coach killer.
I'm not saying he's a coach killer, but you continuously blame the coaching staff.
I'm not blaming. Look, I am blaming this coaching staff.
It worked. It worked with Josh McCown last year.
If you're going to bank your future on Josh
McCown.
No.
I'm not banking my future on him, but I'm saying the system worked with a bad backup quarterback.
Because McCown did not take any risks.
Exactly.
You don't want a quarterback that won't take any risks.
With the team that we have, a quarterback that doesn't take risks will lead you to the playoffs.
Jay Cutler goes the other way and takes too many risks and forces balls that he shouldn't force.
He is Brett Favre without the leadership ability. That's what Jay Cutler is. To this day, the best thing about Jay Cutler is his wife. The end of days.
If the Bears did what Dallas is doing this season, we would be having a completely different talk about the Chicago Bears this year.
I don't agree.
Guarantee.
I don't agree.
Jim, what do you think?
Jim, are you still here?
Yeah, I am. Actually, I just want to say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jim Saranteas from the FantasyGreek.com. I'm your guest tonight on 87 Sports Fans, and I'm joined by the hosts, Keith Greaves and Steve Taylor. And, if you have any questions, we'd love to take them. Give us a call at 585-633-7487. That's 585-633-7487. So, guys, I was thinking to myself that
so what you're saying is
never decided what game to talk about tonight.
What you're saying is we've neglected our duties as hosts to have a Bears
No, it's okay.
debate.
I mean,
you don't understand, Jim. Early on in our broadcasting careers, we used to have moments like these where we would have these complete, some of them went 40 minutes where we would just go off.
40 minutes in a 30-minute show.
Yeah. This is the first time we've had one of these in a while, and I apologize that you've had to sit there and listen.
No. It was some good radio.
Thank you.
All right,
Really good radio.
All right, so let's get off this topic because
Please, I don't want to talk about the Bears anymore.
Steve and I will never come to an agreement on this.
Ever.
So go ahead, Jim. What game did you want to talk about that shocked you?
That was going to be my point, that I hadn't picked my game. I hadn't picked it at all. I guess I could talk about the Bills-Jets game. There's plenty to talk about.
Oh, my God, there's a ton.
Without getting too nutty. But that was one of those games that it was just such a disaster. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I felt so sorry for Rex Ryan. How can you show up and have your starting quarterback throw 3 interceptions on the first 3 drives of the game and sit there and keep a straight face? I would have just went nuts. Would have went nuts on him. I would have went nuts to any, just like he did with the ref that he sort of had the opportunity to yell at, just maybe getting off some of that stress before he had to relax. And then worse is you put in your backup who's a former starting quarterback, and he didn't look very good. Nothing about Rex Ryan's situation says good to me. And I don't know how he's going to be able to keep the straight face and sort of be the great team spokesman that he's been the past couple of seasons as they've struggled. I think this is it. I mean, he's gone at some point. And quite frankly, I think Geno Smith, his career in the NFL, outside of possibly being a backup quarterback, is done too.
Now, Jim, you've watched a lot of football in your lifetime. Have you ever seen a more nonsensical, crazy play than that Percy Harvin kickoff return?
I didn't even see that.
It
did not even see that.
It was so Jets.
There were 2 Jets that were standing at the 5-yard line. One Jet laid down in the end zone, and Percy Harvin caught the ball. And I believe he was supposed to lateral it to the Jet that was lying down. I don't know if they were trying to hide him because they were wearing their green uniforms. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then Percy Harvin got tackled at the 3-yard line. But literally, there was a Jet lying down in the end zone.
Yeah,
that was their play.
I didn't see that.
It was crazy.
I
You
think
definitely need to look it up. It was the most
unique.
unique thing I've ever seen.
It's the only thing worse than the Bears' special teams.
Mm. Well, then that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
Hey, how about those Dolphins?
How about
Got another win, and they're going to have a winnable game against the Chargers coming up.
Yeah. How about Arizona, Philadelphia? The Cardinals just somehow find a way to win games. I mean, seriously.
Big game by Carson Palmer. Big game by Larry Fitzgerald.
Huge. He's been on the way I've been describing him is he's your quarterback that's getting you 250 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Period.
And he is my number 2.
Every week.
And you had the San Diego Chargers losing to the Denver Broncos. Broncos once again exerting their home field dominance. The Chargers are a little bit awash right now. they were, playing the best football in the league, and now they're losers of 2 straight. In the coming week, we'll talk about that after the next break. They're traveling to Miami. Not an easy game. The Chargers are all of a sudden at a crossroads in their season.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I suppose I didn't get a chance. I wanted to look at the rest of their schedule going forward. But they've got a bunch of wins. And if they end up losing 3 straight, this may not be the worst time on earth for that to happen. Because, these are some difficult games that they've had.
Yeah.
And against difficult defenses and difficult teams to beat, I think. Especially now that the Dolphins have gotten healthy.
Yeah. And, they have to go to Miami, then then they have a bye week. And then what game do they come back to but a home game against Oakland? Talk about getting
great.
off the snide. There alone.
Yeah. How perfect is that?
Yeah.
Then you had the Saints looking like the Saints again against the Packers last week. Or last
They
night,
did.
rather.
They did. That was great, actually.
And from a Brandon Cooks fantasy owner standpoint, it was fantastic to see him.
Well, if you played him.
I did. I
could see so many owners having him, so many team owners having him on their benches.
Not this one. One. This one had the foresight.
But once again, you have, I just can't figure out the Saints. You have probably the best home team in the league. But then, they had 3 close games on the road, but the close games were, they lost to Atlanta, who is proven that they're not quite the team they were. Mind you, it was the first week of the season. They've lost to Cleveland on the road, which Cleveland is tougher this year, but, talent level, I think New Orleans still trumps them. And then they lost a 1-point game to Detroit. They got killed by Dallas, but Dallas has proven that they're a better team this year. But I don't know what to think of New Orleans. They're obviously, the way they're playing, if they do make the postseason, they're not going to have home field advantage. Are they going to be able to do anything going on the road in the postseason? Do you think they're going to be able to figure out how to win on the road?
I suppose anybody could figure out how to win on the road. They just historically are not a good road team, which makes this game coming up against the Panthers very interesting because, at least on paper, the Saints are still the better team right now.
But they never seem to perform well on the road and on grass.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the grass thing, though.
It slows them down. They're a different team on turf. Different offense.
I don't know that I necessarily agree that it slows them down. They just don't play as well.
You want to jump in my stuff too tonight?
Oh my God!
I'm sorry. After the rant you just went on, I should take that all back.
Oh my God! It's all right. I tired him out, Jim. You can take him.
Yeah, I got nothing left now.
Finish him off.
I'm just
that just sounded bad, but that's okay.
The Dallas Cowboys and Washington Redskins head to overtime, tied at 17 apiece.
Oh, that's great. I have Deshaun Jackson going in this game. And I tell you, I picked him up maybe 3 weeks ago because some knucklehead in my league dropped him, and I've just been so happy to have him. He's impressed me. I did not think he was going to have a good season this year, and he's just been fine.
So, I guess one question for me, because I know I wouldn't say I was a Ravens hater, but I was a Ravens doubter in the beginning of the season. And, they played great the last 2 weeks, but, of course, they played against Tampa and an obviously struggling Atlanta team. But how big is the fact that they lost to Cincinnati twice? The 2 games they had this season, what implications could this have come postseason time?
Well, the implications are really just – the implication is the Bengals hold the tiebreaker if they end up being tied for any reason whatsoever. And I believe the Bengals also do have a tie in their record. Aren't they 3-4-1?
No, they're
weren't they one of the teams that tied recently?
They did tie, but I want to say there's something. Hold on one second.
Well, okay.
The Bengals are 4-2-1.
Here's the way I'll explain it to you. They'll be at an advantage in 2 ways. First, the Ravens will not only just have to get ahead of them on wins by 1 game. I think they actually need to get ahead of them by 2, because the way that having a tie game in your record hurts other people is you always have 1 less loss than everybody. Mm-hmm. So you're always ahead, even though the other team might have a win ahead of you. And then secondly, if you can tie in some way, let's say the Ravens get into a game